BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, Infinite, and a welcome to BRB UK episode 468. That's right, BRB UK 468. I'm not Dan because his microphone blew up just as we were starting to record. So I am Coleman. Hi! And with me as he is mostly every week, it is Tim.
Hello.
Some that call him Tim. Good. And joining us this week, because it has been a very big special release, one of the biggest releases of the year, Halo Infinite has come to Xbox Series S and X, Xbox One and PC and Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. So we brought in BigRedBarel.com's second biggest Halo fanboy that we have after myself, because I am the number one Halo fanboy, as we all know. It's Bleezey.
Hi, my heart hurts after that.
Why does your heart hurt?
Well, first of all, it started hurting when Dan sabotaged his mic so he didn't have to podcast with me. And then
It was the way he just it was the way he just coolly poured Coke on his mic while looking you deadpan in the camera. Like, it was just a bit mean, really. Like, taking things a bit far.
Tim, we're a gamers podcast. He poured G Fuel over his microphone.
Sorry, right, yep.
Mountain Dew Code Red, right?
That's right. Oh, it's a Halo episode, sorry.
Yeah. Respect the classics.
How are you doing, Bleezey, since we last saw you? Are you happy now
good.
you got your Halos?
I am.
Good. How does it feel
Infinitely
to be
happy.
How does it feel to be Big Red Barrel's number 2 fanboy?
Can you stop with that? I know you're joking, but I'm competitive and I do want that number one spot.
Mate, ask me anything. You can ask me about the Halos. You can ask me about the Spartans. You can ask me about the Prometheus. You can ask me about the.
Okay, what's Master Chief's surname?
Ask me about the. Oh, Master Chief. That's easy. Yeah. His name's John Spartan, and he's played by Sylvester Stallone.
Damn. I shouldn't have started with such an easy question for you.
Easy
Ask
question,
him about the
friend.
3 shells.
Oh, I actually know that one. So it's like a reverse chopstick motion with 2 and using the other to scrape. But that's neither here nor there, because we have got to talk about some Halo Infinite, because it's been out for, what are we at now? Just over 24 hours, I think. And we've all had a go. I'm assuming Bleezey's had more of a go than us two.
Maybe? Probably.
I got a good couple of hours before I went, oh, I've got work in about 5 hours. I should switch off because this is very, very good.
I did what everyone did. Got really excited. Turned my Xbox on at 6 yesterday. Immediate massive update. Looked at my internet speed and went, I'm just going to look at a download bar for the next 3 hours. And then the second that it started, I don't think I stopped until about 2, 3 a.m. And I had a similar thought where I was like, ooh, I do need to go in.
It was upsetting that they didn't allow you to preload. Because I couldn't find any info on it. And I just kept checking periodically over the last week, every now and then, just having a look. Can I preload it yet? No, still can't Can I preload it? No. And it just kept taking to the same thing to say buy. And then I'd keep checking going, Are we sure we're getting the campaign for free on Game Pass? Is this like a big trick that they're playing on us? Is this Godfall, the PlayStation Plus edition? You know, what's happening here? And then eventually it did come out, but they let us pre-install. So the multiplayer was out, which was 22 gigabyte, I think, and then you had to put a 2.90 gigabyte patch on there. And then once the game was out, then it was only like 15 gigabytes to install the campaign.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I was impatient. So
deleted it and downloaded the whole thing, yeah?
No, I didn't delete it, but apparently if you try and download the campaign before the patch is finished, it will look for the difference in the files and will go, oh, I need to download 40 gigabytes.
Wow.
And that's why I was waiting so long, and I was sat there going, come on. And I'm slowly watching my friends list one by one all go Halo Infinite campaign, and I was like,
silly Bleezey.
I did see a tip from Dave Ellis, who's on the part of the team for the multiplayer, I think, as well. But I think he put out a thing saying that if you closed it once you'd started off the download from within the game, once you'd done the update and started the download, if you exited the game, it downloaded a bit faster as well. So
yeah. The other thing I found was so I kept checking the store, kind of similar to what Coleman was saying, and the bit that threw me every single time I checked was it said Game Pass installable. And so I was like, great, I can start a preload. And when you did that, it just took you to the game that you've already downloaded. And I was like,
yeah.
I fell for that about 5 times yesterday.
It was a bit complicated. I don't know if you guys knew, but Kev explained something to me, Kev White of BRB alumni previously or generally. Explained one thing. He said, and to quote him from Twitter, but probably when we were talking about why you couldn't preload it, he said probably an architectural thing. I suspect they had no clean way to have the data on the box and prevent access to it when the user already had access to the client for multiplayer. Same reason MMOs don't preload their expansions very often. So that helps explain that. I guessed it was some sort of thing that made it, because they usually do let you preload their games and stuff ahead of time. I think that was one slight disadvantage of getting the multiplayer, but I'd rather have the multiplayer a good chunk in advance than have had to wait for it to now just to be able to preload the whole game, sort of thing. So I think it was a bit convoluted and a bit of a weird way of downloading things, but I think for what we got in return, it was worth having to jump through those hoops. Although I'm imagining the community managers of Bungie and Xbox and Game Pass and stuff really earned their money yesterday, but hey.
Just under 10 minutes into talking about Halo, and we're talking about installing it. So we should actually talk about the actual game.
You wanted a step-by-step process, right?
Yeah. I mean, outside of me being the number one fanboy of Halo, as I've said many times on this show, and previous times, I'm always talking about Halo. I love Halo. Big number one Xbox fanboy. Go Team Green, all up in that. Yes.
You want me to just chat about Battlefield now? I can make this podcast about Battlefield, and we can chat about that instead.
You overhyped that for me, and it was a bad launch. Tim, you're a fan of Halo. You got yourself a Master Chief cat helmet in your glass cabinet.
Back in the day, I think Halo 5 was the only Halo I haven't finished, apart from possibly Halo Wars 2 as well, basically. It's the only Halo game I've started and haven't finished, basically. But
Halo 5 is the second Halo game to make me feel travel sick playing.
Oh, well, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think a lot of people have said that it captures the spirit of the originals, the original trilogy, which are generally held in much higher regard than 4 and 5, and brings in some of the stuff that was in 4. It seemed like the whole game seems to go, forget about part 5 a bit. We'll talk about what happened with Cortana and stuff, but yeah, part 5, yeah. But yeah, Bleezey, one thing I will come to you for the lore type of thing, but am I right in thinking that it's a bit confusing?
No, come to me. I know all the lore.
Well, the start of the game is a bit confusing, even if you know what's going on from the end of Halo 5, basically. And I think deliberately so that it didn't make it as a massive obstacle to anyone coming in, basically, no?
So it appears to be that, the beginning of the campaign, you get a cutscene, then there's a time jump, and as you progress through the game, you find more about what was happening in that original cutscene. I think it does, like you said, it throws you in intentionally to be like, what's going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So this one it's Master Chief against the Banished. The band, the Banished. I think that was a band.
Probably. It sounds like a band name.
It's a bunch of Craigs. It's a bunch of ape-looking dudes that you got to go and fight up against. There is a very brief mention of AI leader Cortana out there, but not really as much, and you would be thinking you might be coming up against in this one. That might be later on. I don't know. I'm only a couple of hours into the game. I don't know if Bleezey took the day off work and 100%ed this while we were setting up for the show.
I was not able to. I tried my best, though.
I was going to say, Bleezey of old would have... Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was playing up... I was playing up until probably about 10 minutes before we needed to set up for this, and I was like, maybe I can fit one more level in, maybe I can fit one more thing in.
It's when you were on your way home and like licking people that were coughing at the bus stop, and just trying to deliberately give yourself COVID.
Unfortunately, I was fooled by masks over it.
How far are you into the game, roughly, roundabout now, Bleez?
I think I must be about, like, in terms of the campaign, I think I'm probably over halfway. I'd say I'm probably closing on maybe 60-70%.
Okay. Because just for anyone that hasn't played the game, there's an opening cup set of levels that kind of are a bit more contained and a bit more kind of what you're used to, and then it kind of lets you out onto the Halo Zeta, which is the kind of open world setting that people have mentioned and stuff like that, and then it kind of opens out a bit more. Now, I've just got to Halo Zeta and done the first couple of missions there, basically. So how much further past that point are you now, basically?
70 hours!
The game came out yesterday, and I'm 100 hours in.
He's a time traveller.
I kind of don't know how to explain without going into plot details. Yeah. There's a point where I have to go to multiple beacons, and I've just completed that. So
right, okay, I think, basically there's the forward operating bases, or FOBs as they refer to them, and there's a number of those that you've got to take out, and there seems to be like a number of other missions sort of interspersed with those that you can do optionally, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of optional things that I have ignored because I was like, I want to finish the campaign, I want to know what's going on.
I've been doing more of the optional things so far, so yeah.
I think I did 1 or 2, and if it's directly in my path, I'll do it, but otherwise I will drive fast.
I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do, just go through and because after I've been catching up on a lot of games in my pile of shame on the previous generations, and a lot of them are big kind of open world type games with a lot of side questy stuff, and I've got this big habit of going, I've got to clear this map of all these icons and get rid of them because Ubisoft have ruined my life. And I've got this weird OCD thing with maps apparently, so I always try to clear all the side stuff and the collectibles because it's the quickest things to find. But now I'm trying to break that habit and just go, right, I'm just going to do the storyline, then I'll come back to it if I fancy later. And that's why the first time of playing, say, God of War, I found quite arduous and tedious. And then the second time I played it, I went, oh, this is a really good game. I don't know why I didn't get along with it.
But you see, there is an advantage to doing some of the side stuff that will then make the main quest stuff easier. Like, for example, you can free groups, like a squad of soldiers that have been held captive. And if you free them, they come along with you for subsequent missions. I don't know how long they survive necessarily. I seem to have less of them than I started with, but like I went and assaulted like a big base that was a big kind of refinery where you've got like pop open the kind of fuel rod type things and then expose them and shoot them and blow them up, which you've seen on some of the like preview videos. And it looks quite graphically impressive. It's quite an enjoyable sort of thing. And apparently all those sort of levels aren't necessarily the same. Like there was one that I went into that's like a vehicle operating thing, and they were kind of repairing vehicles and stuff. But apparently those refineries and type things change, and the purpose of those buildings change noticeably when you're going from one to the other, even though you're doing similar tasks in setting up those fuel rods and blowing them up, basically. But
yeah, I definitely didn't do anything stupid as soon as I found some Marines. I basically rescued a squad of Marines.
They're all dead.
I got them in the Razorback and was trying to get them in the Razorback, and at one point, while I was trying to like beep the horn so they'd get in, I reversed and ran over one of the Marines. And then we assaulted the base, and there was a fair few of us, and I went, I'm going to see how long these Marines last. And like kind of ran in ahead and then just watched, and they were holding their own until I realized they're only fighting about 2 grunts. And it was a fairly, like, it was about 8 Marines, 2 grunts, fair fight. One elite came through and killed 6 out of the 8 Marines in seconds, and I went, oh no, I need to step in right now.
Brilliant. I mean,
but
the whole hitting the throttle instead of the horn. I've played GTA Online with you a bunch. That's pretty apt to your gameplay style.
It was. I was just like, because I was quite near a rock, and I went, oh, maybe because of the rock they can't get in. So I reversed to basically make space, and there was one that was apparently sitting on the back bumper or something because he went right underneath.
See, that's one thing that I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like, I'm fine, and I think you are as well, Bleezey, because we know how to drive Halo vehicles without being told. But they drive differently to most vehicles you see in games, and they don't give you any really on-screen instructions the first time you get in one. And I'm like, that's not great for some people, maybe.
It's also when you reach flying vehicles, like I've gotten a Banshee a couple times, and like I'd say I'm pretty proficient in terms of Halo vehicles. I forgot all the Banshee controls when I came in, and I was like, I know there is an evade, but because there is no tutorial, I was like hitting buttons to make sure I knew which one it was. Yeah, and I at one point
just
jumped
use the
out.
strafe shoulder pads. It's just the way forward.
But I jumped out of the Banshee, and luckily
this is why you're number 2.
Managed to get back in. But yeah,
nice.
There was a lot of just hitting buttons to try and figure it out.
And that's one thing that I think we'll mention as you brought it up as well, is the grapple shot and how good that is. Like, it's like we've had kind of grapples and grapple hook type things in games, and they are well used in games and often quite good. But I think this one is really kind of crisp, really well done, really good at giving you like information back on like how far away you can shoot it out. Really good at, like, if you shoot it towards the top of a building or a cliff that you want to get over, you can then sort of propel yourself off the top of it as well as you're going up.
Yeah. But it's good I like that you could fire it at a larger enemy and then just swing towards them and then melee them in the face. That's really good. But yeah, it's really good for the whole traversal thing and doing a roll.
I was actually a bit concerned when they showed it. I kind of was like, I'm not sure how that really fits into Halo, and I'll admit I've picked up like other Spartan abilities since, and I have not used a single one because I'm just using the grapple shot to like go around.
Yeah, I've said this before when we were talking about the multiplayer. It feels very Titanfall 2, and that's not a bad thing, because that was probably one of my favorite things of playing the Titanfall 2 multiplayer, was being on foot and grappling up a giant Titan and throwing a grenade in them and all that kind of stuff. So it feels really good in that aspect.
It's good, and it's good in combat, and I kind of got a feel for that having played some of the multiplayer. But it does feel like it changes aspects of the single player game quite dramatically. For one, it's upgradable, and so it's a very different beast once you start upgrading it. It fires out like electricity on the target you're going for and stuff like that when it's early upgrade. But
so
then
have like
also
a rapid fire. Does it have like a rapid fire grapple hook?
No, it's in it electrocutes. No, there was no rapidness to it though. It just same speed, just with electricity flowing through it, so it electrocutes your target when you're hitting a person with it.
I put the web whip on my soundboard and I want to use it.
I understand that, but that was a bit of a reach.
Coleman,
and that's not a Halo joke.
Halo reach.
Yeah. But I think it changes the layout and the flow of the gameplay entirely, because it changes the verticality of the environments and how you interact with them as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, there's so many times where generally I would walk around and follow the path, but I'm like, well, I can just go up that cliff, and it's like,
I'll just go over that mountain now.
Yeah. So, Coleman, when you're playing and you're using the grapple shot, are you just singing like Spider Chief, Spider Chief?
Spartan-Man, Spartan-Man, Spartan swinging about. Melee them in the face. Swingy. Spartan-Man.
One thing I would say, like...
Oh, wait, there's a really tall structure. Let me just hit my grapple hook. And off he goes.
You're just on
you don't find quality like this on IGN, my friends.
Power's gone to your head, Coleman. You can't be trusted with this thing anymore.
Actually, kind of funny using a soundboard.
Of all the optional things, I think the only one that I've pretty regularly tried to look out for is the audio logs. Like,
yes.
I'm really enjoying those. It's sort of a upside and a downside for me is it's kind of explaining more of the extended lore, like what happened to other characters and stuff. But also, it's giving me this kind of hollow feeling where I'm like, it's making me aware that the characters are, at least currently, not in the campaign.
Right,
and so, like, you'll find out, what's happening with Captain Lasky, like Dr. Halsey, Blue Team, Spartan Lock. They all get mentioned in passing. Like, so far, the only mention I've heard of Blue Team is, like, someone's just like, oh, they've been reassigned just elsewhere. And
you
it's
do
just
get a quick look at Dr. Halsey and the whole hologram thing quite close to the start. So you do see other characters at other points, but I don't know how well they show that later on in the game.
My problem with
echoes of the past and stuff.
My problem with the audio logs so far is I keep on accidentally picking them up in combat, and so I just can't hear what's going on around me very well, and I can't listen to what's going on in the audio log.
Ones on the fire bases as well. Like, I'll pick them up, start playing them, but then if you capture the fire base, it just cuts off the audio log, and I'm like, oh, no.
Oh.
See, they use the audio logs in the way I like audio logs to be used, and that's you can choose to pick them. I think if you tap them, you pick them up. If you hold it, you'll pick them up and play them.
Yeah.
But then they're then stored in your menu so you can listen at your leisure. But I think you can also play them and carry on in your gameplay at a later date. And I prefer it that way. I've been playing the holy hell out of Marvel's Avengers again because of the Spider-Man stuff that came out. And I've started to realize every time you pick up an audio log, it's like, yep, that's in your menu. If you want to listen to that, sit in the menu and listen to it. I ain't got time for that. Do you see how many hours I've put into playing Marvel Avengers? I'm not going to spend another 10 hours listening to audio tapes.
Yeah, I think ODST had it where their audio logs kind of, as you found them, they built up a story, and then it was essentially like a mini audio play that you could just play all the way through in the background of your game. And I feel like that's kind of what the Halo Infinite audio logs are reminding me of. They're like a mini condensed version, but there's like a couple different storylines, and as you're finding them out and about, I don't know if I'm just getting lucky, but it seems to be unlocking them in the order that they are in the story. And so it's kind of keeping me I really want to know what happens there.
I liked what they did with Metal Gear Solid 5, I think it was. And when you found audio logs, if you got the Metal Gear Solid 5 app on your phone, you could listen to them on your phone. So I could be sat on the tube listening to the audio logs I'd picked up to piece the story together on my way to work.
Yeah, that's good, like, real world integration type thing.
More
Mr. Bleezey, as we mentioned story, I have a lore question for you.
Okay.
So
are you sure you don't want to give it to the number one Halo fan?
I'll give it to the number one fan. Okay, if he can't answer it, then we'll come to you, Bleezey, as your number two. But yeah, basically, yeah, the Banished have appeared in previous games. Am I right in thinking that?
They are the enemy in Halo Wars 2.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's what I was going to say. You can see a lot of the whole fight between them at the end of Halo Wars 2. Right. There's the big cutscene for that.
And where does the guy they mentioned at the beginning, Atriox, or whatever his name is?
Atriox was like the head of the Banished in Halo Wars 2 that were fighting on the Ark, which is the big kind of Halo ring facility that you go to in Halo 3.
Right.
Take me out with a boom.
Basically.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says.
Something like that.
Take me out with a boom.
Take me out with a bang.
It's send me out with a bang. Come on. But, so...
Then he takes them all down with his tash.
But yeah, so, like, in Halo Wars 2, general overview rather than, going into detail, the Banished end up on the Ark and start fighting the remnants of the UNSC that are there, as well as the Flood is also on the Ark. And then, as a result, at the end, a new Halo ring is created, sent off, and I'm still trying to work out, if I'm honest, if this is the same Halo ring that is the one sent off.
Zeta that was produced, basically.
Yeah,
because I saw a thing about that.
The Banished are on it, which would make sense, but then also the damage to it and everything, part of me wonders if it's not that one. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping is cleared up at least.
Well, because that was a thing I was watching, because fanboys, nerds of the internet, and they were showing the ring from the clip from the cutscene compared to the ring in the video in the modern game, and it doesn't quite match up in the environment and stuff. But they might 343 might just be changing stuff around to make lore fit, because they've done that before with the books and stuff, and they
Chief's armor
changed
the entire Forward Unto Dawn.
they change things about and to make them fit better. They kind of Lucas it along the way. So
one thing I will say, like, as much as it's the kind of thing I would say anyway, I really like the design of Master Chief in this one. He looks like, in Halo 5, for lore reasons, he was essentially wearing Spartan 4 armor, so he looked a little bit too fluid, but this one he looks like a bulking tank that actually doesn't look like he can move that much. But it also means
just below a Spartan 2, I'd say. With my,
pretty much.
Halo lore locked in my brain there, in my mind palace of Halo knowledge.
Yeah, it means that when he is moving around in the cutscenes and they are trying to show emotion, the times that he does, because everything is very, like, it looks like every movement takes effort, it kind of holds a bit more weight. Like, for example, when in one of the initial cutscenes, Master Chief's like going through 0G, and
it's a cool moment.
He grabs like an assault rifle and stuff, and then he like basically cradles a dead Marine that's floating in space, and you can see that there is a certain amount of humanity, and then immediately that next to him there is a dead jackal that's in his way, and he just fucking throws that thing. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to swear.
It's okay.
But
that's fine.
He just throws that thing out the way like it's nothing, and so it's just like, in terms of body language, I feel like it really sells a lot more of the character.
Yeah. No, that opening was really good. It was because it's done as that kind of, it's the Marvel action scene kind of moment that you don't see a lot in the Halo series in the same type of way, but it's at the same time, it's kind of the poignant moments that are shown in. It's a very small scene as well, but it works really, really well.
There is also the initial cutscene, the one that Tim mentioned at the beginning, where you're immediately thrown in, you don't really know what's going on.
Which felt very Destiny 2 opening, I found. It was like the red, what they called the Cabal, the Red Faction, or whatever they were. Not Red Faction, that's a video game.
the way in terms like the, like, for example, Master Chief moves is so much more accurate in that. Like, in a load of people had criticisms of Halo 5 where they were like, especially the Locke versus Master Chief fight, they went, he's moving too slowly. This seems like it's a fight that's been carefully choreographed and mocapped, but it doesn't seem to have the speed of a super soldier. And then in that opening cutscene, Master Chief is jumping around and he's like blistering speed, and you could see Marines running in the background, and they're no longer...
See, that might just be a limitation of the software at the time, because I know they were trying something different, because there was a whole intention to make a Halo film and TV show and stuff, which we're finally getting the TV show on Paramount Plus, but they were using a new form of mocap, which wasn't the balls on suits and stuff or any of that kind of thing. It was literally just focusing a camera on a person and motion tracking that way. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but that's what they were using for Halo 5. Because I remember
not just balls on suits.
Ball suits. Everyone knows the ball suits and the little tracking dots on the face and all that stuff. But none of that. It was just literally record a person. And it was a new thing at the time, but it doesn't seem to be getting used now. So I'm assuming it didn't work very well. And that's why it was used in Halo 5, a panned installment into the series.
Yeah, see, I always interpreted it as, it's cool, but it's like if you imagine, what's it called? Like in like a martial arts film or something. It's very clearly choreographed and it's very much for show. It doesn't look like anything has impact, anything.
Yeah.
It's almost like a dance more than anything.
In Marvel terms, it's Shang-Chi versus Iron Fist. Shang-Chi, like, he knows what he's doing and it's very fluid. And it very harkens back to old kung fu movies. But then in Iron Fist, it's a bloke from Game of Thrones that they've taught him last minute to go and throw one of them and then put one of them around there and do a bit of that.
Yeah, I thought the cutscene that you guys were referencing, the space cutscene, was... I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed like it was evocative and reminded me of some of the famous scenes from Halo 3 as well, basically.
Yeah.
Like... when he's kind of going down to Earth. There's also early on a kind of, not even really a cutscene, but just a moment where you can see yourself dropping down to the ground out of like a dropship. And the weight as you're going down and the way they animated that and the stuff they put into that, just, it really felt good. It really felt like you were the super soldier dropping out of the dropship kind of thing. And yeah, I really like the little touches and the little stuff they put into that. But yeah,
it was
the
cool in
music
a way
cues
that,
as well. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, the music cues as well. They like also really help build the moment. Like, I'm going to keep mentioning that space cutscene because that was pretty incredible. Just the soft piano as he's like going through, and then it builds to more as he enters the ship. And then, like, when you're finally down on the Halo ring and the Halo theme plays for the first time, I remember having like the full adrenaline, I am so ready, let's do this kind of thing. I think I immediately jumped off a cliff and like fell about 20 stories right into the middle of the fight.
Some of those audio cues and the way they use it in combat and exploring the environment are like, how did they do that? Like, I don't even know how they managed to line that up so well. Like, it's just like really impressive, and as you said, like really emotionally evocative, and kind of, they know what they're doing with the Halo theme. They know that's going to tap into like your mind kind of cerebral memory of everything that goes with it as well. But yeah, like, one thing we haven't really spoken about that I think is one of the massive new elements of the game is the kind of open world nature of it. And having got further into it as well, Bleezey, do you think that is for the benefit of the game? Because at the moment, I like the kind of interconnectedness of all these levels being out there, and I can go and pick something and I can go around the environment, and it makes the whole thing not feel like a succession of levels, but like a whole, cohesive whole. And I think that is a good side of having a open world game. But then it not being as directed, I wonder, as you play throughout the game, as you're unlocking things and as you're doing things, how well does it kind of level up with you and kind of keep pace with what you're doing? And like, have you encountered any difficulty spikes, or does it kind of keep up with the progression as you go?
I'd say pretty generally it's keeping up with the progression pretty well. As it's introducing like new areas, it'll also introduce new vehicles. Like, for example, I think the mission that I'm doing at the moment is the first time I've seen a Banshee, because it's one of the first areas that I'd say is actually quite large between its objectives. Like the other ones, you could use a mongoose or a warthog or whatever, drive, but maybe you're traveling about 1 kilometer, but you could also run if you wanted to. Whereas these ones, they are like 2-3 kilometers apart each one. I will say this last level that I did just before coming on was the first time I went, oh no, I'm getting vibes of Far Cry that I don't enjoy, in terms of it very much seemed like, because it was like, go to 4 beacons for this thing, and by the third beacon... And
I've heard a lot of people complain about that as well, and for the same reason you said, like, very Far Cry.
But yeah, it was like, by the time I've done the third one, I was like, oh, I've got one more as well. And I know I'm doing this just to progress, but like, did there need to be 4? Could 3 have been fine? And so, yeah, I don't know if there's any more of those. Like, I've had a couple of those in the campaign so far, and maybe it's because I've been rushing through. That was the one where I was like, okay, this is actually getting a bit, stale. But like, yeah, in terms of, like you were saying, like the way that the levels open up in front of you, it's like each time it will add a small section of map, and there'll be generally like a main mission in that map, but then you've got plenty to do around it. And I am enjoying. There is a small variety between each of the locations as well. Like, I feel like you can kind of go, oh yeah, I know roughly this is, there's a slight difference in the look of the area compared to the other one. I did think, based off what I'd heard from 343 in the lead up to this, it was going to be a bit more dramatic. I thought it was going to be like, oh, there's going to be kind of a desert area and a snow area. It does seem to be various levels of trees, but like the style of
it's very green.
Yeah, the style of it is still like, I really think it's a pretty game. It's just, yeah, I think maybe part of me is also like, maybe it wouldn't feel as tedious to do all these what's it called, like beacons and stuff, if there was a bit more variety of the biomes between them.
Okay. I've got to say, because all right, we'll throw the jokes away now. The pretense that I'm the massive Halo fanboy, because
hold on, I think I'm getting promoted.
No, I'm still taking the title. I've got that crown, and I am not letting go, my friend.
I was ready to put it on LinkedIn in my CV.
No, the whole thing with Halo was like, I had Halo. I didn't really enjoy it because it was that thing. I didn't have the internet, so when I played with friends, it was one-on-one and big open maps, very boring, just getting shot again and again and again because I didn't really like first-person shooters. A flatmate
wasn't
tried
the
to
first
get me.
one pre-online? Wasn't it Halo 2?
I think I think we were playing at Halo 2, but offline and local, right. Just 2 players, and it was very boring for me. Then an old housemate of mine tried to make me get into Halo, tried to get me to play the second one, made me feel really travel sick playing it, so I didn't get into it. Third one, he got into it, completed it, played online all the time because that's seemingly all anyone wanted to play. And I'd be like, do you want to play WWE 2K? Do you want to play SmackDown vs. Raw 2000?
And they went, no, I want to play.
We're going to play Halo 3. God damn it, we're playing Halo 3. So that's all we played was Halo 3. And then seemingly 4 I didn't bother with, even though people kind of praised that one. People panned that one from memory, and then 5 came out, and then people praised 4. So
I will be honest, the best thing that happened to Halo 4 was Halo 5 coming out.
Yeah.
Because they'd done so much different. And I'll be honest, I was one of those people that I was like, I love Halo, but I'm really not sure what they're doing in 4. This is not great. And then I played 5 and I was like, I was too harsh on 4. It did some things really well.
Yeah. And then with 5, I played for the show, which if you listen back, I started the opening level and got travel sick. So I stopped playing it. And then
that's a good.
But then I discovered tablets and things that help with travel sickness and stuff, and have gone back and frame rates and things and all this stuff kind of fixes things, and all the old games have been remastered and stuff. So I've been playing the Master Chief Collection on PC, and that seems to have fixed a lot of the problems, especially on a smaller screen on a PC, on a laptop seems to help. So I'm doing it on the phone as well. So I've played through the Halo games now, and yeah, they're all right. They're not as good as Destiny, I don't think. But then I started playing Halo Infinite just to kind of get a sense of it for the show, and bloody hell, that feels really, really good, like better than the previous one, which is to be expected. You know, they improve on sensibilities and things with the game and control and what have you. But it felt like what I wanted in the Destiny game initially, which is take it offline, make it a single player experience and tighten the controls up. And I've gone, oh yeah, this is really good. This feels like Bungie made this game.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think they've got a best of both worlds out of what they were looking at making before, and obviously taking on board the criticism from 5 and reflecting on that well and building a good product based on that feedback, and doing a good job of doing that. And I think that that's generally be commended. I think they have made a good game. It's a bit of a shame that co-op isn't available now, and apparently isn't going to be available till March.
I think it's beyond then now. I think it's May now.
Ooh. Oh, okay, May, is it? Okay, so yeah, that's a long way to wait.
Would you say it's
for co-op?
Gonna be May?
No.
Okay.
I think that it's
Bleezey would not fall for such cheap tricks.
Right. I don't know about these things, but I'm guessing it's in an open world setting with multiple people. I don't know about you guys. I had one hard crash last night that did lose me a little bit of progress on the level that I was playing at the time. I imagine if they're playing, and it does seem like this is a kind of instance type thing, and I don't know if that's necessarily the right terminology, but it does seem to be that when you pause the game, it still carries on, and so it's probably set up for a multiplayer setting where you can have more than one people, more than one
pauses
person.
Properly.
But does it? I don't think mine does.
No, mine, because that was something I found earlier, like, there was a point where I was fighting some hunters, and then I think that was where I was starting to go, oh, I think I need to set up. I muted, not muted, I paused, and then, I came back to it like 2-3 minutes later, and the hunters would have killed me otherwise. And, but like, they were in the exact same spot, so I thought it actually paused properly.
Maybe not. Well, I had a couple of grunts talking about shooting me, and then I saw some shots going, so I came out the menu and shot them. But that's not necessarily conclusive proof either way. But
they can't shoot you if you keep going in pause.
No, but it's just a shame because like co-op has always been like an integral part of the Halo experience for me, to the point where I think I played Halo 3 in co-op more than I played it in single player.
Oh yeah, ODST, I don't know what that looks like in a full screen. I've only played that in split screen.
But I do really wonder, like, does the open world setting make that much more difficult to program for? And is it better that they iron out a load of the kinks in the single player setting before they try and bug fix in a multiplayer environment, I guess?
I can't remember exactly, but I do think that one of the Waypoint articles went into that, where I think they said one of the biggest reasons for the delay is whether they have any kind of tether amount, because in theory you can go anywhere in the open world, right? But like, as you've seen, each area is kind of clustered together. Yeah. Like for each level. So if you've got one player that's doing essentially, let's call it level 5 or whatever, and they're doing instances around there, but then one person is right back near the start, I think at that point it starts to strain, one, because the players are so far apart from each other, but two, it's also, it doesn't know which to prioritize and like who would essentially be host in that situation. And so I think that they explained as one of the big factors that they're essentially. And
the open world setting probably makes that a lot worse. I think in a linear level, when you're progressing, they just always disguise that by like having people just warp into the setting where you are as you go through a door that's kind of going to a new area. But I guess that's a lot harder to do in a open world environment, and I can kind of allow them some more time for that. I mean, the one thing I will say is I think it was a very good decision to delay the game by a year, because I don't know what state it was in a year ago, but there still are some minor bugs.
Craig.
There still are some minor bugs now, and I think it looks a lot better, and it feels really good and plays really well, and I'm really enjoying the bit that I play. It's also very easily, you talked about just playing it for hours, and I think Coleman mentioned that as well. But I think it's a very easy to pick up and play game, and then just, it's 6 hours later kind of thing. In the same way GTA games have done that for a lot of people in the past. I think a lot of people can be getting stuck in Halo and coming out 4 or 5 hours later, having meant to play for an hour or two kind of thing.
See, I am wondering what the kind of thought is before that, because they did set up this whole Cortana war kind of thing off in the distance, and then it seemingly hasn't reached that in this episode. But in the same time, and they've called it Halo Infinite. They didn't call it Halo 6.
Yes.
So by calling it Halo Infinite, you'd think, maybe this is like an ODST or a Reach or something, like a stopgap before the next. But then they've come out and said in PR interviews and stuff, this is the final of the second trilogy, as they're calling it.
That's what really throws me. Like,
because this feels very approachable for newcomers. And it's the 6th installment.
Yeah, I can't really say for spoiler reasons because, like I said, I don't know how it resolves. There are some big hints that I've had so far that the Cortana thing is just stopped entirely.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's like a fake out or if that's like they're just trying to get away from what was going on in Halo 5. But like, it was one of those that I was like, oh, hold on, I'm not sure I'd like that, to be honest.
Well, there's two things. I have heard there are some unresolved story threads throughout the game from other people that have played it to completion, sort of thing. But then, I don't know this for sure because I don't think they've spoken about a roadmap at all. But I would not be at all surprised if we get free and paid campaign content, DLC content in the future, basically.
I would love that idea, and it seems kind of weird for me to say it, but I would actually like, sort of like ODST, I would like campaigns that almost don't follow Chief. Like, there are so many threads that they've kind of hinted at, like there's points where you're finding bodies of Spartan 4s on the ground from basically what happened before, and maybe it's a small campaign where you're part of that and you're finding out more what's going on there, or maybe you're a Marine.
The ODST style of picking things up and going through the story. That would be really interesting as well. Yeah,
like I feel like there's a lot of potential, like in terms of like if the Banished are involved and it is that ring from Halo Wars 2, you could potentially have the Flood involved because, the Flood was on the Ark, the Halo ring came
Flood
from
DLC,
the Ark,
please.
who knows? Yeah, like you could have so many different pathways, and this is kind of where I keep getting this feeling of it being hollow, where I'm like, Halo does have some incredible characters and it has some incredible side stories as well as big stories, and I'm like, I know that they want to focus on Chief and they want to focus on, his AI companion in this, but also part of me is like, I am weirdly missing out on the wider world, if that makes sense.
Right.
One thing there as well. The new AI is called Weapon, and Weapon is a blunt force object of a name. Like, it's really like, might as well call a tool. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's really strange because Cortana's replacement is Weapon, voiced by the same woman, the same voice actor that's playing Cortana is now playing Weapon, and in the video game, in the whole story of the game, the idea is they're created to take Cortana's place and in an attempt to delete Cortana, but in the real world sense, it's like they've it looks like they've gone out their way to go, it's a bit problematic having this naked virtual woman. We're going to put one in clothes, voiced by the same woman that looks like her but has clothes on. And also, when we do a flashback to this, the naked woman, we're going to make it, oh no, she actually had clothes on. We just didn't render them properly in previous games.
See, I just found it very uncomfortable that Cortana had toes in that cutscene. I went, no. I kind of preferred it when it was low poly and it was just kind of a weird slab.
I prefer my Cortana toeless, thank you.
No, the whole choice of weapon seems it just seems to kind of avoid a problematic type thing. The similar way the latest Mortal Kombat 11 came out, and all the scantily clad women all have clothes on now.
It seems like she was named for a reveal, like to make the thing seem secret before you picked it up, and then it kind of got like from then on it didn't make sense kind of thing.
Unfortunately, trailers happened and ruined all that. So
yeah, the same thing kind of happened with the pilot as well. So far, the pilot, as far as I am in the campaign, has not had a name. They've just called it the pilot, and in terms of the weapon, there are lore reasons, like one essentially, because of what Cortana did in Halo 5, they stopped making smart AI because, the smart AI can rebel and just join Cortana's side. So they were making
they can yell,
AI
which is a symptom of them going rogue.
Exactly. So, like, in terms of that, I do quite like the weapon as a character because she's like incredibly smart and seems to have a lot of this knowledge, but also doesn't understand it in the real world because she was not created to last this long.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of times where she'll come across something and she'll go, "Wait, what's that?"
Yeah.
Chief will go, "That's a hunter," and she'll go, "Oh,
yeah.
They're quite
the
scary,
Banished
actually."
One. She's like, when the guy's talking about the Banished, she's like, "I just learned what those are 2 minutes ago."
I do quite like that, like nature to it, and I feel like that's also probably to help new players come on board as well.
Yeah, kind of good onboarding.
Again, a very approachable. It seems very geared for newcomers than previous episodes have been.
But one thing that may give you hope that we may get some resolution to that story at some point is she does say quite early on, Weapon says that she was created to delete Cortana, and then she would automatically be taken out of existence. But for some reason, she hasn't been removed from existence.
We know Cortana's not gone. We know she's going to get used in a previous, in a further episode. I'm fully expecting to beat this game, go past the credits, and then Cortana boots up somewhere.
I've been waiting for you, John.
We're going for episode 7.
Yeah.
But we're not calling it 7. We'll call it Halo The Force Awakens.
Well, this one wasn't called 6, and I think, I reckon this game will go as long as we're on these platforms, basically. As long as it's the X and the S, and whatever comes after that, I think they'll be creating new content for the lifetime of those consoles based on this infrastructure, basically. And from what I've seen, that's a very good thing.
To put it in the words of a video called The Entire Lore of Halo, which I used to watch before this episode so I could kind of hang with Bleezey, Halo will carry on.
Video for them.
Halo will carry on as long as it keeps getting 90 plus Metacritic scores.
Oh, well, they only hit 87, so
we're
doomed.
Cancel
it.
Kill Chief.
But yeah. I think it's a recommend from all of us, though, no?
It is. Also,
especially easy with Game Pass, but...
Like some kind of screaming endorsement for first-party games on Xbox and Game Pass, we've used the entire show to talk about Halo, much like we did with Forza Horizon. And that's fine. It means we're not going to cover the well-crafted agenda of news that I spent 2 days writing. But that's okay.
Can I squeeze in some Serious Sam for one while it's still relevant because it came out the day before Halo? Also because I can do it fairly quickly and it's sort of relevant to Halo. Well, my basic short review is don't play Serious Sam 4, go and play Halo instead because you've got Game Pass and they're both available on both of them. But Serious Sam 4 is a shinier version of what's gone before.
Serious Sam 3.
Yeah, like, from what I remember of Serious Sam, though, it was more of a kind of wave shooter. I don't remember it having a level structure, no?
I don't know. I never
played the ones I've played before, I seem to remember it just being waves of enemies and you getting big guns. And
I tried that silly VR one where you had the Gatling gun at events.
Maybe it's just that was a complete wave shooter. I can't remember if previous Serious Sams in the series have just been that, but that's my prevalent memory from that I've retained from the series. But this is much more of a corridor shooter, kind of very much in the classic Doom kind of mold. And by that I don't mean Doom 2016, Mr. Young'un there, Bleezey. I mean
Doom 64.
I mean old school Doom. Like
I believe Doom came out the year I was
born. Doom.
Yes, that one. But it feels
that
like
might not be correct, but I feel like it is.
It feels like a very polished version of that. The story's set up is you're in Rome, you're hunting you're going for a meetup with a priest who is searching for the Holy Grail, and you're and I can't remember if this is an element before, but you're the alien.
Chosen
you're the alien artifact something. Like, anyway, you're basically chasing alien artifacts, and the Holy Grail is apparently an alien artifact. Very much.
And then the Scottish man goes, "The penitent man kneels before God."
Very much like Serious Sam character-wise is a bit of a poor man's Duke Nukem, and that's not necessarily saying much or a very good thing. He was always
one open-handed schlap.
Avatar type thing, but very much in that kind of sarcastic take on the Doom sort of series. It very much in the same kind of boat as Duke Nukem. Although they seem to have outlasted those type of series, even though they possibly weren't quite as good. It still kind of lives up to the same thing. It's still got very similar enemies, the screaming enemies with the 2 bombs that really annoy you, the kind of headless people that shoot you, and then there's a big amorphous kind of bath things that explode and all that type of stuff. It's not massively imaginative.
Talking about Serious Sam,
but it's enjoyable to a point. But you've really got to be a fan of like old school shooters to really get too much enjoyment from it. I've also hit a point in the game where I swear it's broken because it keeps throwing every single enemy I just encountered in the level at me, and when I defeat them, they all just magically appear again and swarm me and kill me. And yeah, like it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I've probably had enough Serious Sam 4. So yeah, maybe skip that one.
I tell you, Tim, as BigRedBarel.com's #1 fanboy of old school shooters, I think I'll actually get a lot of enjoyment out of this game that came out last year.
Well, you probably can then, and you'll probably be fine. As I said, I enjoyed it to a point, and then I got to that point, and then Halo came out, and I'm not sure it's worth downloading. Maybe if you got Game Pass and you can just do it on the cloud, have a look and see what you think, but I don't think it's worth downloading and taking your time up, especially when you can be playing Halo Infinite in the meantime. So there you go.
I didn't realise there was an agenda. I just figured you needed me to come on and chat about Halo. But speaking of broken games, I can chat about Battlefield if you want.
We'll save that for the Battlefield episode.
Yeah.
Oh, the Battlefield episode in 6 months when it works.
The news this week was really boring, so that's fine. It's
all depressing.
All depressing stuff.
Video game companies continue to be gits.
Although that's possibly because there's announcements have all been held back for a bit and about to be released into the wild this evening through the Video Game Awards. That happens at 1 o'clock in the morning over here, so I think we'll all possibly be asleep by then.
I'll be playing Halo.
And we'll make this podcast out of date by the time it comes out news-wise anyway, so hey. But then, that's hopefully something we'll catch up with a bit next week. It looks like there's some interesting announcements and stuff going on there.
I'm going to make you play a pirated version of Serious Sam 2, so you'll get chased down by an invincible giant metal scorpion that punishes you for pirating the game.
Oh. Yeah, and there's a Matrix game which I've preloaded, which...
Not a game, it's an experience.
Well, they say that, but if you go into it and have a look, there are a thing where it talks about inverting the Y-axis. So I'm guessing that means that there'll be some flying, possibly. But there's definitely some gameplay by the looks of it.
I mean, it's pointless talking about it because it's the 9th as we record, so we don't know what it is. And on the 10th, as this podcast comes out, we will know what it is. And then a week later, when we will get to talk about this, then it'll make sense.
When Death comes back, because I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I think it's just an Unreal Engine 5 demonstration, basically.
Yeah.
Similar
but
to
it looks
the
to have some gameplay in
it,
possibly.
Released, yeah. You've got gameplay in you.
I do.
Tim, what gaming-based charity are you going to be talking about this week?
I have not prepared, so let's go with special effects again. They help with getting disabled gamers able to game. They kind of help with like actual hardware devices that help people that wouldn't otherwise be able to get into things by themselves. We've spoken about them before on the show. It's stuff we've seen at trade shows where you can like drive with your eyes and stuff like that. So it's actual like developing and using tech and hardware to enable it so that disabled gamers can get access to gaming. It's a really good thing to do. I think specialeffect.org is their website. Go and check them out. Go and check how you can support them at the moment. And they do really good work. So do what you can to support them, please.
It's funny you say about in Special Effect they have because they do the whole thing where you use your eyes and the webcam to drive. I think it was Dirt. I was one of the Dirt games that I was playing doing that, and it's actually really fun and challenging to do that. But based on Bleezey's gameplay, he plays Halo multiplayer with his feet.
You haven't seen my gameplay. I'm going to make a gameplay video now just to prove you wrong.
Yes, just to prove you wrong.
Yeah, it'll come out in like 8 months.
I will warn anyone listening, if Bleezey ever invites you to play a video game, a video on YouTube will appear of you that's really well edited and really well done, but at the same time you're like,
I told you ahead of time we were recording.
You told me you were recording and then nothing happened, and then like a month later this video just appeared on YouTube. Right?
I'd like to point out, it was 8 months and I did forget about it,
So I'm going to record this. Yeah, fine. And then that's it. I completely forgot. And then one day this video of me appears on YouTube. I'm like, this is really well done. Unexpected, but really well done.
That's how it works. It's the surprise element.
And Tim's also been on one for Marvel's Avengers, which he had no voice on.
No one had a voice on for that.
No one had a voice because we all blocked our voices, and then on my recording, because I was using a USB microphone in the heads, it didn't work. It didn't work.
Didn't work.
Oh,
try again sometime.
No questions this week, but we'll say if you could leave us a review, you can do so at Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Stitcher, and Castbox. We get those reviews, we read those reviews, we hug them at night, print them out, hold them close to the chest, and go, "Oh yes, we got some flipping reviews."
Just
really
comment
nice
on that one.
Feeling. All right, maybe me. And if you do want to get in contact with the show, you can do on the comment section of BigRedBarel.com. You can find our link to Discord on there. Also, you can find us on Big Red Barrel and Twitter at Big Red Barrel, and also on YouTube, Big Red Barrel TV. Although you can find links to all those things in the show notes. So if you're listening on a podcast player, just scroll down a bit and the notes that appear on the podcast app, and it will have links to all the things that you can find, which includes any charities.
All the things, that's quite a claim.
It's a lot of things. All the things is a lot of things. So this has been an episode of BRB UK. Thank you, Bleezey, for jumping in and being our saviour to talk about Halo. But I will give you some Halo information that you don't know about. So talking about John 117, the Master Chief, John Spartan's Master Chief's John. So did you know that John, the Master Chief, is actually a competitive cooking show produced by Endemol Shine UK and Banished broadcast in 60 countries around the world.
I did, but only because I also can't spell.
In the UK, it's produced by the BBC.
Oh, I didn't know that bit. No.
Yeah, so there's some Master Chief news for you. It doesn't work when you say the right name afterwards. So there you go. Do you know what? We've got a little bit of time.
There's a buttery biscuit base reference going on in there somewhere that I haven't quite got the mental fortitude to squeeze out into
buttery biscuit forward operating base.
Base.
There we go. Buttery biscuit forward operating base.
We did it.
There we go, Coleman. Between me and Bleezey, we managed to get that in there, make it sound all professional.
That's your title for today. I'm out. Bye.
Yep. Good work, Bleezey.
For episode, I'm gonna hit a noise. For episode 468 of BRB UK, I have been Coleman.
I might have been Master Chief or Tim. I might have been Tim.
Bleezey.
Oh shit! It's been a while, guys. I've forgotten. I have been Bleezey.
Excellent. And I will say before I leave, because we'll never do the shout, we never do the plugs of our own personal things anymore. You can find us all on Twitter. I am at Dammit Coleman. Tim is BRB
at
Tim.
BRB Tim.
And Bleezey is Bleezey Boy.
Yep.
Good.
He's a Bleezey boy.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week, hopefully with Dan with a fixed microphone that didn't blow up in his face because he poured Coke on it because he went, Bleezey! Until next week.
The beginning of next episode just starts with, is he still here? No? Okay, I'm back.
Until next week, dear listeners, a goodbye.
Your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.
Very specific PlayStation 5 technical problems that no one other than one person on the show has experienced as my leading topic, please.
I tell you what, Dan, with that amazing setup, that does sound like that is what you were talking about. Basically news.